What was that?
Did you like that?
Wow.
Welcome back, producer Dan.
Wow. So that's what you've been doing.
Working at
Hey,
the
glad to
nuclear
see you on
plant.
the Common Good podcast. It's a
Thank you.
Tuesday. It's the end of January, 30th of January today. And you might not recognize us. You know, this is like running into your science teacher, and when you're in 6th grade and you run into your science teacher somewhere not in school, and you're like, hey, hang on. That is you. You're not wearing your same outfit. This is us, just with a new look. And Dan is back. If you're
I'm back.
a long timer, yes, cheers or something.
Back
If
in
you're a
the
long
saddle.
timer, you know Dan. If you've been new, I don't know, since spring or something, you may not have seen producer Dan, but Dan is back, and glad to see you, Dan, and put together the new look, the new the new look on the screen.
Thought it was
Can
time
you
for a
cut
refresh.
back to that intro.
Yeah, let's
intro
let's
thing?
just
Can
do that
you-
intro
should-
again.
Coming to you from Steve Bannon's neighbor's house.
Just having a little
quite
fun.
epoch news, but by golly, we're gonna get there. Hey, okay, so a lot going on, a lot for us to update you on, and a lot to talk about in politics. 37 degrees right now in Minneapolis on January 30th. It's gonna be 40 today. 0 snow. It's gonna be 48 on Wednesday, tomorrow. It was 47 yesterday. In the end of January in Minnesota, it's lovely. We couldn't be happier. I hope it's not signs of, a warming planet or anything. I hope it's just a warm winter. So that's how it is here. How's it over there, squirreled away somewhere outside of Fayetteville?
Oh, beautiful. Nearly 60 yesterday and sunny, and just really, really nice, and also at the same time terrifying. That weather is not the same as climate, but climate impacts weather. And when you have these unusual weather patterns, it might be an indication that there could be something happening. And
Something's up.
it's concerning to think about.
Yeah, we got tons of snow, and then it all melted, and everything's flooding around here. Like everyone's basement is flooding. So we got a good.
You've had a bunch of snow there in Michigan?
Well, we
Western Michigan?
did, yeah, and then it was frozen for a while, and then it all melted on like one day and flooded everything.
Yeah.
There you go.
A few weeks ago, we were in Iowa together, the three of us in Davenport, Iowa, where it was minus 20 degrees.
Temperature, not the wind chill, not the feels like temperature, not the downgraded cold for the millennial generation numbers.
That's right.
Full on like thermometer
Minus
number.
20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was talking with Pastor Rich yesterday, who hosted us at one of our events, and he was saying it was 40 degrees.
We
That's
literally
a
picked
60
the
degree
coldest weekend to go.
No, I don't think we picked it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Republican Party of Iowa. But a 60-degree shift in Iowa in just a couple of weeks. Unbelievable.
Yeah. These are the things that you all mentioned too, because Robb, you used to live in Pennsylvania. Maybe you got this. Dan, I'm sure you get it. But here in Minnesota, it was 19 below 2 weeks ago. It could well hit 100 degrees in August.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 119 degree swing. It's like Mars on any given day. It's just nuts. And lakes are frozen, 2.5 feet thick, and in a few months we're going to be swimming in them. It's a regular occurrence when you live in a 4 climate or a 3.3 season climate, because we really don't have spring. It really goes from fall to winter to summer. That's sort of how it goes. Hey, look at Dan. You're already getting hellos from Kimberly and others saying good to see you again. People have been hanging out.
Hey, everybody.
Peggy and Jim.
Hey, all right. So let's talk politics here.
Dan's getting
Part of the
close.
political move that's afoot is happening around the border. We at Vote Common Good are going to respond in our way, which is try to intersect with and honestly, I have to say this sentence, which I had to say a number of times the last few days, a Christian nationalist trucker brigade is rolling into the border areas of Texas, Arizona, and California, proclaiming themselves the army of God to protect the border. So many things right up in our wheelhouse. We have a big vehicle. We want to talk about the role of faith in the existence of this world and this planet, and we care a lot about the border. It's Freaky Friday to these people's messaging, but we're going to roll down there. And if anyone wants to come with us, I mean, hop in your Prius and find some stations along the way to charge that thing and get down there. And we'd love to see you. It's really quite bad, the messaging that's going on, because these folks are rolling in truly saying they need to protect the southern border as an army. So they're a self-appointed militia, as if anyone has asked these truckers or anyone with them to get into federal law enforcement or border patrol work.
Yeah.
This is what I would call a soft insurrection. The federal government has declared that they don't want their help there. The Supreme Court has said that the razor wire that Governor Abbott of Texas has put up on the wall in Eagle Pass needs to come down. They're defying that, and these people are rolling down there to take over. And that sounds an awful lot like a version of January 6th. The only difference is that on the website for this group, takeourborderback.com, which you should go look at, is they don't care about traffic on their site. That's not a problem. You'll just see how despicable this is. They have multiple warnings on the site. At the top, a pledge you have to sign not to be violent. You know why they're begging people not to be violent? Because these are people that get violent.
There's also a number of people saying, like, sympathizers, but saying, don't go. This is a trap, just like January 6th. They're going to trick us into being violent and then arrest people.
Yeah. This is the FBI trucker thing. Yeah. So, no, this is...
I might put on an FBI jacket. I might order an FBI jacket from Amazon. Just walk around. In it while we're down there. Like, do you think I'm an FBI agent? No, I wouldn't be an FBI agent if I was wearing an FBI agent jacket. Or would I actually be an FBI agent fooling on being an FBI agent so I could really say I declared I was one?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
listen, there has been, for a long time in American politics, unrestrained political rhetoric. And, I've been involved in very progressive political movements on the left that has used rhetoric like, for the revolution, using a lot of fight metaphors, a lot of war talk, all rhetorically and metaphorically. There are those on the right that use the exact same terminology. We have heard political leaders say things like, "This is a 1776 moment," and the language that has been used about the border has been reckless rhetoric that has absolutely spawned this. To talk about an invasion, to talk about an open border, to fearmonger and talk about how we're going to lose our country and our country needs to be defended. All of this stuff it's really reckless rhetoric because A, it's not true, and B, there's people out there that will believe you.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a percentage of the people that will believe you that will actually act on it. Now, I got to say, part of me, while I think, this whole trucker thing is absolutely ridiculous, and part of me thinks, well, good on them. They've been told there's a border crisis. They've been told that Joe Biden is letting millions of people, including terrorists, into the country, and they are going to destroy the country. They've been told that our nation is being invaded. And they are good, patriotic Americans who want to defend their country. And so they're getting in their trucks to go do it. And listen, these folks are misguided. It is, they should be smarter than this. Like this is concerning on a number of levels. But the blame for this sits squarely on the shoulders of people like Greg Abbott and Ted Cruz and Donald Trump and these people that consistently lie about what is happening at the border and incite this kind of recklessness that is very much going to lead to violence, and it will be on Greg Abbott and Ted Cruz and Donald Trump and the rest of them.
Mm-hmm. And I hope that while these truckers are down there, they actually talk to some folks at the border and see the actual situation, because that's what we're hoping to do when we're down there, is show people that this isn't an invasion. This is a publicity stunt. This is a hyped up crisis for political gain. I hope these truckers recognize that when they're down there and they see that, 2 miles away from Eagle Pass, this like contentious point with the razor wire, there's normal border fences with open stretches because it's not as big a deal as they make it out to be. And I hope they talk to some people that have come through the asylum process and hear their stories of why they traveled thousands of miles to try to come to America. It's the American dream. This is why people want to come here, because we claim to be this place of freedom and opportunity, and people actually believe us when we say that, and they try to come here. So,
and the reason they're crossing the way they are is because there's not legal avenues otherwise to cross. The really great question that's asked all the time by anti-immigrant groups is, well, my parents came here legally, or grandparents came here legally, or great-grandparents. Why don't they come legally? Well, it's because we have stopped the legal process for people to enter the country if you're from any but a few countries. That's why. So if you think these are people who are choosing to break the law, they are not. They are often people presenting themselves at the border for asylum, and they can be accepted or rejected. When they're crossing those rivers and you see them crossing the rivers, it's because what they're trying to do is put themselves in the hands of Border Patrol. They're turning themselves in because the actual gates at the border crossings are closed.
And the only way you can apply for asylum is to step foot on U.S. soil. That's the quote-unquote right way to do it.
That's the right way to do it. So we've created this situation. Now, Rob, you are exactly right that, look, this lies in the hands of those who know and are speaking about it. The other people who know and are not speaking about it are Democrats and the Biden administration. Now, look, I'm supportive of them. I'm personally supportive of them. I hope they win. I'm going to do everything I personally can. But look, we did a bike ride almost 2 years ago in order to raise the awareness of the border. So we rode the whole thing. We were making a documentary about it because we knew then that Democrats don't want to talk about immigration. They don't want to talk about the border. And this administration has not done what it should be doing. Now, look, there are some legal issues that go into place. There's a lot of legal issues when it comes to international borders. Yeah. But what they could be doing, should be doing, by golly, we're going to help them try to do it, is to message about what's actually going on. Because I promise you, Google or do a YouTube search of what's happening at the border, and you don't see an explainer from the United States federal government about what's going on and what's happening. All you see is crazy conversation about what's happening there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're right. Some people are ginning it up in one direction, and other people have their mute on their Zoom meeting to the American people, and no one can hear a thing you're saying about it.
Yeah. And it's super
sorry
frustrating.
For the stern voice there, administration, but good Lord.
Yeah. And it's super frustrating because it's not just good policy, it's also good politics. Listen, they're like coming out with a clear and true border message that can galvanize the good people of the United States that want to care for our neighbors, that want to be a welcoming country, that believe in the Statue of Liberty and a shining city on a hill. Like that, there are millions of Americans that kind of message would resonate with. And listen, let's make this process easier, and let's manage it better, and let's demilitarize all of this. And it's good politics because, as we have found, our work at Vote Common Good, we talk about how there's 5 to 15% of white evangelicals and white Catholics that are flippable, that in the past have voted Republican, in the past have voted Republican, voted for Trump, that could vote for Biden or for Democrats. Now, that means that there's 85 to 95% that aren't flippable. I get it, but we're not focused on them. We're focused on the 5 to 15% that are flippable, because in a close election, 5 to 15% of religious voters is enough to win an election.
Bag of plenty. Yep.
Yes, it is. That it's near landslide proportions. The one issue where flippable religious voters are out of step with Republican leadership is immigration. There is 85 to 95% of people in your church that are chanting "Build the Wall," but there's 5 to 15% of people that are like, "Oh, wait a minute, I'm not so sure this jives with my values," and if there is one issue that could be a wedge issue to peel away evangelical, Catholic, mainline religious voters from the Republicans, it would be immigration. And this administration has the mute button on. Like, come on. Like, you're missing out, not just on good policy, but on good politics.
Yes. Yes, it really did. It required leadership 2 years ago. Now they're in a situation where they're negotiating a bill, which no one really knows all the details. Dan's got up on the screen some of what we believe is in there. The Biden administration, literally, truly, this was a day one thing. They acted on the border on day one of January 20th, 2021. They acted on the border. Haven't done much since, but on day one they acted on the border. It's been the days between after day one. It's sort of the problem with day oneism when someone's a new president. Like,
and have been rolling it back since day one. Because day one they lifted some of Trump's regulations, and now they're just softly going back to those exact same ideas. Different name and same effect.
Exactly. And look, I won't beat this too long, but just to say there are at least 3 big buckets of conversation around this. One of those is actual border security and border management. That's what this primary bill that they're negotiating now has to do with. How many border patrol agents? How is it going to be? How are people interacted with at the border? How many judges are there? What kind of machinery and what kind of technology and all of this, right? So how are we handling the border? Is it militarized? Is it under Homeland Security like it is now? Or is it under Health and Human Services? Like, there's a lot of things about the border itself, okay, That's just the border. The second bucket, which is a really big bucket, is the actual immigration system by which people can receive visas. There are more than 100 visas that you could apply for in the United States. It's far too complicated. We have all kinds of regulations about how many visas can be distributed to people from what particular countries. That's the part that's broken. When people talk about changing our immigration policies, that's normally what they're talking about. That can include the dreamers, that can include people who received visas and they've expired. There's the whole thing about who can come into the country, under what rules and how. That's where the problem lies. That is what Congress should solve. That's why there are people sleeping in encampments on the Mexico side of the border. And that's why detention centers are full, because the rules that we have in place, and look, these are not laws of nature. These are laws created by the United States Congress. Right. Just change them for the love. So that's the second bucket. And then the third bucket is, what do we particularly do around the refugee situation? And that's kind of a subset of visas. But if we could separate out work visas, people coming to the country to work, people coming to the country to unify with their family, from those who are coming because they're in crisis in their own country and need to be in the United States as a refugee, we should be separating those situations, and we're not. So when you hear, and this all gets mixed together, right? We're going to mix it together in the stuff we're talking about. It's much more of a soup than it is a charcuterie board. So all of these issues, border and visas and refugees and all the rest, is all floating in there together. So it does get a little bit complicated. But what they're talking about now does not do with how the border is going to be handled, is not going to solve any of the conditions by which this has all been created in the first place.
Yeah, but that will not stop Republicans and Democrats from trying to turn this into some kind of political football that they can score points with. And Republicans have realized, like, oh no, if we pass a major border bill, a bipartisan border bill, in conjunction with negotiating with Democrats and the president during an election year, we're going to take this, this issue off the table for us to demagogue. And Donald Trump, I think, was the first one to realize this and began pulling strings amongst the Democrat or amongst the Republican Party, saying, listen, no deal on the border. He wants this issue. He wants to keep the issue for all of the talk about solving it. And so now what we've got is Republicans in absolute revolt against themselves. And this story out of Oklahoma is hilarious.
Yeah.
Oklahoma Senator, James Lankford.
Yep.
Has been censured by the Oklahoma Republican Party because he was negotiating with Democrats on this border bill.
Right. As if negotiating with the other political party in the country is somehow fraternizing with the enemy.
Yep.
It's the language they use.
Yes, negotiating with terrorists.
So here's the quote from Lankford. He said, "It is interesting. Republicans 4 months ago would not give funding for Ukraine, for Israel, for our southern border, because we demanded changes in policy. So we actually locked arms together, said we're not going to do this. We want to change in the law. And now it's interesting. A few months later, we're finally getting to the end, and they're like, oh, just kidding. I actually don't want to change the law because it's a presidential election year." So his own party has said, don't do this.
Yes.
It's a political tool for us to have a crisis.
Yep.
Yeah, and we don't want anything that would, give. Listen, there's two things here. This bill is not going to solve the border issue. It's not. But what it does do, it would give Democrats a talking point, give them some kind of victory that that they can at least blunt what has turned into a very pro, because Republicans have talked about the border while Joe Biden and his administration has had the mute button on and not
Mm-hmm.
talked about this. What they have allowed to happen is they have allowed Republicans to dominate this issue and to set the narrative, and
Yes.
that narrative has been set, and so only something like a bill passing can reframe that narrative. That's one of the impacts of this bill passing, is it would reframe the narrative, and the Biden administration would be able to say, yeah, we've been tough on the
Mm-hmm.
border. Look at this bill that we passed. Regardless of what it is or what it does, it gives them that talking point, takes it away from Trump and gives it to Biden for the election.
And look, we can be pretty honest here about the fact that Republicans lose when it comes to national elections, and they lose when it comes to some larger statewide elections in places that they should be winning. They're going to lose on this one, no matter how it goes. If they do squirrel in a bill and it passes, that's going to take away a lot of the fire from the Trump and the Republican attempt to try to use this in the November election. If they don't, if House Republicans stop this bill, Joe Biden's going to go stand at the border and say, "You should have passed the bill. We need a new cut." Right? Even though he wouldn't really want the bill, I think the White House now, after all these months and years of being quiet on this, are now like, "Hey, one of the best things that could happen, because this bill isn't great, is that we don't pass this bill. But Republicans have to own the fact that they said no to the very bill that they previously wanted." So it could, because look, if they pass this bill, there's a lot of activists in the Democratic Party that are going to be pretty upset with the Biden administration for partnering on this. Now, I'm not sure someone's going to, we may be having a screen that looks like, Democrats censure Joe Biden for negotiating with Republicans. Some people, that very well could happen as well. But this is what years of neglect, right? That's what this is. This is like our attic that got a bunch of frost in it and water came rolling down in my house. It was years of insulation neglect that caused that situation to happen. Mm-hmm. This is decade upon decade of inaction from the United States government on the process by which people can enter the country.
Yeah.
If you want a simple answer to it, well, you should just go look at Veronica Escobar's bill. She's a congresswoman from El Paso, Texas. Great bill. It answers nearly everything to my satisfaction. But the simple answer is create a work visa program where people can come to the United States and work and go back to Mexico and come back and work, and free the flow so that you can travel both ways. And if you think that's crazy, just plan your trip to Cancun this spring and fly into Mexico, have your vacation, and fly home. Most people who live in Mexico or in Central America or in South America do want to work in the United States. They don't all want to live here. Mm-hmm. Now, I would like it if they did, because, friends, we've driven this country. We've biked this country. It's mostly empty, and there are dying towns all over America. The thing they need are more people. The notion that is created, I'm going to get real preachy here for a second, because of Democratic governors in cities like Chicago and New York, and then Republicans in Houston, hoarding the refugees that have come to their cities and then creating a crisis because there's not room for them and making people think that the country is full. That is created because they're keeping them in the confines of the city. If Chicago has a problem with too many refugees, could we introduce you, Chicago, to Evansville, Illinois? Could we introduce you to any other town, Illinois? New York, could you not hold everyone inside the boroughs of the city of New York and share those refugees with the rest of the state? Or heavens forbid, the rest of the country? Like, the reason there's a crisis is because any single city cannot take on all the refugees that are showing up there.
Mhm.
Create the process by which people can be moved to other places where they will have a better experience and a better life. But these are people that don't even have the means to get out of New York City or to get out of Chicago. And why is that happening? Because these city mayors want to argue with their own states about funding. So when you hear this stuff about our cities are overwhelmed with too many migrants, that's also solvable. The country needs more workers, more participants. And look, if you're an old school Republican, just dig down deep to the past. Just think of the cocoa when you were a child. Think about your parents when they were talking about good economic theory, and they would say to you, sweetie, it's all about supply and demand. What we need to do is not decide how we're going to divide up what we already have in this country, but how do we expand the pie? You know how you expand the pie? You know how you grow the economy? There's one way. More people participating in the economy. We have 350 million citizens and residents in this country. If you let in 3 million, which we haven't let in 3 million migrants cumulatively in, over decades. If you let in 3 million just this year, do the math real quick. You can do it on the back of your napkin. Yeah, that's right. 1%. Do you think we're going to overflow the country with 1% of population increase? Now, you put 400,000 people into Chicago, that's a problem. So all of these things that even Democrats, even liberals are like, yeah, but we do have too many people. And what about our schools? And okay, I understand you're anxiety ridden about that. Understand the country. I mean, it's amazing how easy it is to not remember how big the country is, how diverse the country is, and how many opportunities there are in this country. Mm-hmm. So there are so many things that can be being done about this. And what's not happening is any of them.
Right? Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I want to get back to this quote from Trump. He was giving a speech in Nevada, and regarding this bipartisan bill, he said, "As the leader of our party, there is zero chance I will support this horrible open borders betrayal of America." And then he goes on to say, if elected, he will act as, quote, this is a quote, as dictator for one day, end quote, to do it. He's talking about closing the borders. Mm-hmm. He's actively working against the bipartisan effort, even though parts of it are straight out of his policy playbook.
Yes. He's literally doubling down on the dictator for a day thing. Like, it wasn't just that he said it one time. He's like, no, my plan is...
That's a good idea.
Just for a day.
Dictatorship.
It's
Can we talk about some other ridiculous things?
Oh, I'd love to.
Please.
Like Congresswoman Lauren Boebert jumped from her congressional district that she currently represents to a new one because she was going to get beat. And you might remember that she won re-election against Adam Frisch by less than 600 votes in 2022. So one of the closest elections in the country. And in a bit of a shock, Adam Frisch is running again on his way to victory. And Lauren Boebert realized that the only way that she could remain in Congress would be to jump to a safer Republican district, less of a, and it makes you wonder if that district was like a battleground district because of her. But anyways, so she decided to jump from the 3rd district to the 4th district. And they had a little event where the candidates that were running spoke, and they did a little straw poll after the people that were there, and Lauren Boebert finished in 5th place
with 12 votes.
With 12 votes. No, of course, the person who won got 22 votes, but so it's not a big event.
It's not
not a
official.
No,
did you catch any
people? There were 89 people there. If you do the quick math there, that voted. 77 of them said no to Lauren Boebert.
Yeah.
77 out of 89.
And did you catch any of the video clips from like the little town hall debate they were having amongst the candidates. One of the other candidates asked Boebert, "Can you read me the definition of a carpetbagger?" Like, they were not holding any punches. So
Yeah.
it's like,
That-
you're
yes.
trying to move into our district. You've never
Yeah.
lived here. You don't know anything about it.
Ironically, it feels like
is awesome.
It feels like Colorado Republicans are going to rid us of Lauren Boebert.
I think
and
so.
Wow.
and it is just like, what? Thank you. So I mean, this political calculation on her part is just, it is just all wrong and hilarious. But she's not the only congressperson who's got some weird things going on. Making some calculated political moves. Matt Gaetz told a friend that he took down Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House because of the House ethics probe into Matt Gaetz's alleged sex trafficking and using Venmo to pay for dates and taking them across the border or across state lines, and all sorts of different things that Matt Gaetz has been accused of. And there's a House ethics probe into all of that, and he's not happy about that, so he decided to take down the boss, the godfather of the Republican House caucus. And Kevin McCarthy, I guess, has himself to blame for losing the speakership. If he had just left Matt Gaetz alone, maybe he would be the one trying to keep the government from shutting down again.
Yeah, it's so funny. Just the infighting and the drama there.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Doug's appearing to have some technical difficulties. Doug, are you with us? You got any thoughts about Matt? We don't have any volume from you now. We might
Doug,
need
are
to.
you back?
I'm back.
Okay.
All right. Whew.
Yeah, right. Sorry about that.
You got any thoughts about Matt Gaetz and Kevin McCarthy?
Oh, just seeing the two of them on that screen again, it just brings me back to those days when Kevin McCarthy was the Speaker of the House, and now he's not. And I just can't wipe the glee off of my face. But the fact that Kevin McCarthy is gone and Matt Gaetz is still there, that says a lot. And look, we talked about it. Anyone paying attention knew this was all about personal vendetta. Mm-hmm. That's why when they bring in somebody else like Mike Johnson, he does exactly the same thing Kevin McCarthy did in negotiating budget bills and not shutting down the government and everything, that he's not being impeached. And reporters and others were playing along in the cosplay that is political coverage of this, saying, well, boy, that's ironic. I don't know why they're not doing that. Yeah, because Matt Gaetz and others they don't hate Mike Johnson yet. They hated Kevin McCarthy.
Not yet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all that was. All along. And so that's how it goes. And look, if we invest too much in the belief that current Republicans care about the institution of anything, we're just playing the fool, because they don't care. They just truly do not care about how the House of Representatives functions. They really see it as the problem. I'm sure Lauren Boebert, to connect this story to the past one, if she's out of office, she'll just go around saying how happy she is to not have to, be around those people that she kind of despises and that work that she thinks isn't even important to the American experience. Yeah. They just don't care, truly do not care, and would rather see it come to an end, the way we function in our political system, than to serve it. And some Republicans aren't that way. Some Republicans really do think that having a federal government that functions in some frame that we've had for a few hundred years plus, they think that's a good idea. But the majority of them seemingly don't at all. And Matt Gaetz and even Kevin McCarthy are in that group. They just don't care. It's just a game of power for them. And Kevin's probably out golfing and he's probably signed some big contract to work for a hedge fund, and he couldn't be happier.
Maybe he's investing in a cannabis company. Who knows? It's
Maybe he
morphing
got
into Joan
into
Van.
crypto after hearing a sermon from this pastor. Doug, you sent this over.
This story is so
my
funny.
gosh, this pastor is accused of a $3 million crypto scam. He says he may have, quote, misheard God because God told him to do all this.
And part of what's so irritating to me is he uses exactly the same microphone and same microphone stand.
Oh, no. See, Doug, pay closer attention. That's the cheap version of the Shure. That's the USB version of the SM7B. So don't you worry.
I was feeling like I needed to redo my setup. Look, this guy, I may have misheard God. What's wonderful about it is
who hasn't
that his argument is not, maybe I made this bullshit up. That's not his argument. His argument is, no, I heard something. I mean, I'm in commune with God. I have heard God. I just misheard.
This is incredible, though. He admits to all of it in this video message. He confirmed that he and his wife made $1.3 million from selling this worthless cryptocurrency, of which they spent a few $100,000 on a home remodel that the Lord told us to do. He goes on to say, either I misheard God and every one of you who prayed and came in, you as well, or two, God is still not done with this project.
See, this is the genius of the human. This is where we just pause and applaud humanity's ability to continue to remind us that we are the heroes of our story. No matter what you do, you are still a work in progress. It's not done yet. No, look, there's a way to explain all of life, that you're always in the middle of something and you're always at the end of something. There's probably some song about you don't have to stay here, but you can't go home or whatever. There's always some, or the other way around. There's always some new beginning that some other beginnings end. All this, sure, that's true. But when someone is so brazen as to be like, okay, I committed a fraud, and but the Lord told me to, or told me to do something else, and it might be that the remodel wasn't enough. We may need to purchase a new place altogether. Maybe that's what the Lord was really saying.
Might have been what I misheard. Yeah.
My heart was too hard. I didn't here move into a new place, but I am here to be humbled, and I do take the $500,000 we have left, and we're going to now purchase a new place altogether. For that is clearly what the Lord is going to do. It is just something else. Like, why can't people, especially those of us who are into God and into God speaking and God connection to humanity language, just say stuff like, I don't know, I thought it was, but turns out it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
The like careful, boy, sometimes it's hard when the connection to the eCam falls away, and I didn't hear all of it there, but it was just a little miscommunication.
I have never trusted anyone who says stuff like this, though.
No.
Someone says that God told them to do something, immediate red flags. Unless it's God told me to love my neighbor because Jesus said it and some people wrote it down. I remember this one time my wife and I helped start a church. So we committed to a year of this church plant, doing the music for it, not getting paid. And at the end of the year, we told them, we're actually going to move back home and got a real job there. And they were like, ooh, that's funny because God told us that you're supposed to stay and continue to work for free. I was like, God told me something different.
God told me to tell you that wasn't God that told you that.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're talking about this.
Because you brought it up.
God was concerned that you were being deceived by some other voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the oldest, probably the oldest trick in the book, right? True. Like if
Yeah.
you go back to like ancient written texts that follow, at least in the Jewish tradition and therefore the Christian tradition, one of the early narratives in there was, did God really say to do that? Right. I mean, you're not a couple of paragraphs in before that story is right at your feet.
Can
And yet
we
here
jump back?
we go again.
Can we jump back in this story for a second? There is a whole crypto culture that exists out there on the internet. There's crypto bros that follow all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This guy probably was one of them, and got some crypto bro on YouTube confused with God. It's funny how God speaks when you look into when you search on YouTube about how to launch a cryptocurrency.
A long-haired guy with a beard and
Yeah.
a lamp. It
But
was
what we know about church life. 3 former pastors here talking about church life. What we know about church life is that the money is not with the young people. The money in church life is with older folks. This pastor convinced people to purchase $3 million of cryptocurrency. Now, if I'm a crypto bro, I'm not buying for this. Like, I'm buying Ethereum or, Bitcoin or something that I actually know about. Not this, nothing crypto. The people that are buying this crypto are, I don't know, older folks. Could you? I'm just imagine with me how this pastor needed to teach people about how to buy crypto. He deserves some credit for that. Like explaining, okay, here's your wallet. Here's how you get it set up to Web3 and
Yeah, do you think he was walking through these baby boomers like how to do all this on their iPhones, or did he hire someone to do the tech support for him?
I'm just saying, if this guy got, boomers in his church to spend $3 million on crypto, I'm impressed.
Yeah, he had a lot of support though. There was all that movement, that Friedman fella is now gone to jail. That FTX thing, I think, has totally collapsed. There was big things on the Super Bowl a few years ago. He's actually a real, in the innovation curve of fraud, he's way down on the falling end of it. There were a lot of people,
the long tail of internet fraud
who already softened up, where this guy came in and just Christianized it. He just baptized.
Yep.
Stupid idea that we call cryptocurrency. And I mean, big banks were into it, like that Friedman. What's the guy I'm thinking it was?
Sam Friedman.
Sam Friedman, something or another. Sam Friedman's cellmate, I think. Like, so many people were like, "Oh, they're just brilliant. This is the future of money and the future of currency." Just nonsense. And we won't even get into NFTs. Just nonsense on the crypto level. And sir, somebody should write and, probably call me and say, "Hey, do you even crypto, bro?" No. So this guy is just a scammer, right? I get your point, Rob, that he got $3 million out of people in Colorado to be on the side, which, and really, I think it says even in the Denver area, maybe just in Denver.
Well, he's targeting Denver's Christian community, but he's an online pastor. I don't even know if this guy has a real church. He's just he's like us. He's set up in his basement.
He's a YouTuber.
He doesn't even have a fake background behind him. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm like,
hey guys, hold on. I'm hearing something.
Hearing something from the Lord.
I'm hearing something, and I feel like the Lord is on my side. Do you hear it?
Good coin. I think good coin might be a thing. I just heard a voice
Common
say
good
good
coin.
coin.
Yeah, come a good currency. I'd like to introduce you to a whole.
Common good currency.
we can, we're gonna just print as much as necessary to
Yeah.
accomplish what we want. We're gonna MMT this stuff.
Hey, in the meantime, if you don't want to, send pastors your money for cryptocurrency, but you do want to send money to former pastors to put diesel in a bus, go to votecomminggood.com right now and
Yeah.
get us to the border. We're still a couple of $1,000s, maybe under that, away from this fundraising goal we had because this thing popped up where we're going to Eagle Pass to be in the way of the Christian Nationalist Trucker Brigade. And we're going to start rolling tomorrow. So if you want to be part of that, literally, if you want to be part of it, come meet us somewhere along the way. Maybe San Antonio.
Yeah,
maybe
literally,
Dallas.
if anyone has experience driving a 40-foot bus, we could use one more driver. So.
Yeah, we could use one. We'll take anybody. No background checks required.
We're like the U.S. Navy now. We
will require you to lay on the pavement in front of all of these truckers. However,
well, that's what the bus.
No, we're not doing that. Oh.
No. But there's a lot going on there. And we'll get if you're watching this, anywhere you're watching this now, we will keep updates flowing from our trek there. And look, they're going to have more trucks there than we will. We see ourselves as the needle, not the balloon. So it doesn't take much pressure sometimes to deflate these really ridiculous ideas. And we're going to go down and try to introduce them to some ideas that would be much better for them. So votecomminggood.com is where you can be part of that. And hopefully all the stuff we talk about here is slightly entertaining, always informative, but also invitational. So we'd love to have you be part of it. All right, Rob, we know you've got to go, and this time not just for personal needs, but for work purposes. So should we end it now? And Dan, thanks for the new.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All of the chat today was people saying hello and cheering Dan being back, and then it was pretty quiet from Jim and
it's me. Yeah.
Squirrely Prepper and Peggy.
Still there? Anybody still there?
Is this thing on?
All right.
Okay. Well,
we'll see y'all soon.
Yeah. So this week's schedule, for those of you that keep up on this, it's going to be a little hit and miss because we're going to be on the road again.
But follow us on the social media. We'll be updating there from the border.